turn the water off in my building, and so I'm unshaved before you. It's not very often that happens. Greetings. My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, licensed presenters, the Core New Core, my patrons, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor or student. A special word out to my patrons, like candles. Your patronage provides me with the inspiration of the light, and I thank you for it. And if you'd like to be a patron or be a bigger patron, go to Patreon, patreon.com, and check it out. What you're supporting is the existence of my website, which is currently hamstrung at the moment. It's in the middle of changing names. From hermit.com to michaelmillerpilates.com. If I had more patrons, or more patronage, I might be able to address that, but right now it's low on my list. So maybe you want to withdraw your patronage if that's all you're doing, because it's tough to get around and my website anymore. So 3 things on my list today: being ghosted, Oscars, and fast slow. Okay. And remember, this is meant for, or tried to be constructed as comments for someone trying to survive as a Pilates instructor or student. Perhaps especially student, even though I think in my mind mostly of giving teachers my opinion. It's the real students that will take Pilates wherever it's going, as it has all along. Humanity will do what it will with Pilates. So being ghosted. One of my friends on Facebook wrote an article or stirred up a conversation about springs and referred to them as resistance, and it was tough not to pass up at least a passing point that in the MMP point of view, you use springs until the body can support its own load. I got someone who agreed with that, and so I smiled, sent a smiley face, and told him Cornu sends their regards. Well, that completely befuddled the person that I was writing to. Maybe that was my intent. I don't know. I just wanted to introduce what mattered most to me, which is the fact that the body engages in Cornu tension, and that's the spring tension you learn to engage in order to most effectively bear your own load, which is what Pilates is all about. Contrology develops the body uniformly. So in any event, when I gave the description of Cornu tension preceded by Joe's statement that contrology develops the body uniformly, I went back and looked a couple of days later and saw that the initial messages or comments from the person that stimulated the conversation had been withdrawn or deleted. They weren't there anymore. But because I was answering to this person, their name is in with my comment. Now I'm wondering what the polite etiquette is for maybe I could go in and edit the comment altogether, take their name out, or just delete it altogether if it was so abrasive or something to be withdrawn from. So being ghosted. And yet my comment to myself is how weird and different I must sound and in looking at that person's wall, you know, their postings, how much division how much division is indulgence? And I think by that I meant when I wrote it, to say us, not that, to make a division between us, not them, in any kind of way you want, in the most basic ways. Of gender or race or creed. And other individuality, expressions of life. To what extent is it indulgence to indulge in being sanctimonious? Not that, us. Us is better than that. To where, that takes me to number 2, the Oscars. The Oscars. And in both the best actor and the best actress, maybe best female actor, I think they go by actor now, both, right? Neutral, both are actors. But they still divide it by gender, it seems, by award. So wrap your head around that one. But the 2 top awards both spoke of inclusivity. Of inclusivity, of a point of view of what we are together as a part of. And I thought that was really inspiring. And then number 3 is a fast, slow discussion going by about moving fast and moving slow and Pilates and all of that, and rather than dipping my toe in there to expose a point of view, I would just share it with you and let that be enough. And so my fast and slow in the beginning, put some historical context to this. In the beginning, so I'm looking for, here it is. I'm looking for this book. Now, why am I telling you this? Fast and slow. Because in the principles, one of the principles in here is breathing, right? Breathing. And in my first attempts at explaining or talking about the principles and how they reflected on what we did when we do Pilates, I used to say, I started out saying that the movement rides on the breath. Here's what I'm trying to get to. That the movement rides on the breath. But later on, I changed my language to express that the movement rides within the breath. Because breathing is moving, and all of it's wrapped up in the same expression. What I think is interesting is that if you hold your breath and wait for your body to say, I need air, it will definitely communicate to you that it wants you to breathe in. My opinion, my experience. And that willfully, from your thinking, you can hold your hand in the stream, if you will, of what you move and when, and wait for that experience to come to you that I call I need air. When do you come up? When you need it, when you need air. What are you listening for? When you need air. And it's in the way you deliver your breathing. It's in the way you deliver your breathing. It's how you choose to breathe, not yes, and to what extent you choose how well you exhale in order to connect to, I would say, the organic need for air and your ability to recognize that and cooperate with it as a source of leadership for the rest of your movement. So in that way, your movement rides within your breath. Now, how fast or how slow, how fast or how slow you breathe, wow, see in there, when you breathe, it affects how strong you are, which determines your range of movement. My notes say, it is a point of eccentricity. You come out from your need to breathe in. In a way, if we were just a single cell and we could get away with just exhaling and never having to interact with what's out there, we'd be much more in control of ourselves than needing an interaction with what is beyond us. How's that? And that in the exertion of exhaling, the completeness of that sets up the quality and the range of air that you bring in. By my understanding, Joe used to say, when asked which is more important, the inhale or the exhale, he said the exhale, because the inhale takes care of itself. And there are pictures of Joe demonstrating how complete an exhale can be, to where you think he has no stomach. Okay, so I like to think of when you breathe and when you move happening in 3 stages in terms of control. The first stage is where there's no connection between when you're breathing and how you're moving. And a lot of human beings, perhaps most of human beings, just do that on the presumption that they try to move, they move, and they do, and that's as much as they think about it. And there's no knowledge of or choose to pay attention to when you're breathing versus when you're moving. Either willfully or unknowingly, but the movement and the breath don't necessarily coordinate at all. And in this middle third, in taking on your Pilates capability, I spend a lot of time in appreciating the connection between when you breathe and how you move. So that you get to where you started out in the first third, where you're really breathing attuned to what you learned in the middle third without having to think about it so much. You've learned how to move with your breath and your movement connected to the point where it's subconscious rather than overtly manipulated. What do I mean by that? That you don't insist on. See, for example, inhale out on the reformer, exhale home. Okay? Inhale out away from center, taking on load. The inhale is part of the tension that feeds into your uniform engagement that makes you as light in space as possible. To play a hand in your ability and talent at surviving. Because it's always, for MMP, meaning Michael Miller Pilates, as a point of view coming straight out of Joe's book. I didn't talk anywhere near enough about fast and slow, but maybe I'll pick up more on that in Facebook to come. So go check there if you wanted more here. My summary, but I had another statement here, besides just fast and slow, was that Pilates requires humility. Because you must surrender to that which is beyond you. Maybe surrender is the wrong word. Maybe respect is, maybe surrender, respect. What do you think? But it's from the MMP point of view. That's Michael Miller Pilates. The humility is in admitting that you're a body, and you're mostly water, and you're moving around through space. You're a fish walking on land. And that in and of itself makes the point that gravity forces the issue of alignment. Just like the two Oscar winners pointed to what we are together. I think is a key aspect to Pilates, and we stand in humility at the acknowledgement of the reality that we find ourselves in. The biology we have and the physics that we accomplish with the biology that we have. And so my last comment here was that I celebrate the time that I've gotten to spend with you, and the prospect of you showing up after it's not live has been in the forefront of my mind, because it's meant to be a long toss into the future that you can feel right now for yourself, both in core new tension, what that produces, your awareness of that. It's a fact of the matter. And then a point of view of Pilates that says that Pilates is an experience, and just explains the experience right from Joe. Know what you know. If Pilates really has an essence of its own, then it will be that essence that will unite us, and that those who seek maybe of all that conversation of those who seek the feeling of credibility to their students, right? Do you know what you're talking about? The mat sequence in Joe's book reflects a progression from lying flat on your back to standing up. And the character of the relationship between the exercises reveals the choreography. And in MMP, Joe's definition and Joe's statement about uniformly develops the body, along with the sequence. Life can't live forever. Read between the lines and see behind the curtain. See behind the curtain. Connect the dots. Evaluate points of view. Direct your thinking. And Geist.